I was having just some feedback that individuals did thoroughly appreciate the first session on balance. In fact, one individual said to me, he said, I was thinking that I couldn't come today because I was trying to balance things out. So he said he was very happy he did come because he realized what the balance was all about. So he realized on that aspect of it. And I think throughout the session, I think all the husbands were looking at their wives and saying, you see, I've been telling you all these years. And the wives were saying, no. He doesn't mean that. Just before we begin on the session with the Jamil, just an announcement again. Krishna Purna's at the back clearing up. Just on the principle of mentorship that we have begun at the Manor. And many of you probably are perhaps part of the mentorship system. How many of you are taking part in the mentorships? Just as a show of hands. Okay. If you're not, the idea being that if anyone's chanting 4 rounds or above, we are recommending that you somehow get connected with the mentorship system, regardless of the fact that if you're in a Sangha group, if you're in a Bhakti Vriksha group, wherever you are, you can be connected with the temple through the mentorship system. And specifically very much needed for those that want to take initiation in due course of time. We have a website and all the mentors, I think maybe there are 30. How many mentors there are? Anyone tell me? 30? 40? 42. So you can team up with any one of these 42 people and take guidance from them. And they're on the krishnatemple.com website, and you can have a look at who they are. And mentors are allocated. If you haven't got one, you can have a look at them. Obviously, the quicker you pick, the better, because we only allow a certain number that can be on there. And if you do need a paper version, there is the team here today. You can chat to them. Just as a matter of hands, how many of you are mentors again, or part of the committee? Mentors. If you can just stand up for a moment, all of you that are there, just so that others can see. Go on, yeah, mentors, go on. So these are mentors, and you can, there's more obviously, there's some here, thank you very much. And the mentorship committee is also here. You can connect with Krishna Purna and the team. Who else is in the mentorship committee? Sundarananda, my wife. Anyone else? I better say my wife. Anyone else? But you can connect with any of them, because it's something that really we need to excel on from the Manor specifically to get everyone connected. It's something that I think Radhanath Swami had said many years ago, Bhakti Chira Swami, whoever has come through the Manor just recently, and Jimna Swami was here, and he said, yes, everyone must get connected with the system, because it's not possible for the spiritual master to be looking after so many individuals anyway. So we're really requesting all of you to really do link up with the mentorship system. And very much I think Ajamil, he had a good mentor in due course of time that helped him to excel in his own spiritual life as well. And I hope he did balance his life as well. But once again, from the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, there are 3 lessons, and you've got the printout which tells you where we're going, and we'll be ending just at, it's 12 now, so 1:15. 1:15 we'll be having lunch. Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Paramananda Madhavam Sarva Shastrabdhi Piyush Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikpada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Shrimad Bhagavatam Prabhu Kali Dhvanto Ditatitya Shri Krishna Parivartita. Hare Krishna. So welcome after the break, and just a quick recapitulation of our seminar before, just in case we miss what we discussed. We began our discussion on balance by discussing how we are like a pendulum. Prabhupada says extreme tendencies to go between bhoga and tyaga. Srila Prabhupada explains how sense gratification is like salt. We have to have just the right amount. Less is a problem. Too much is a problem. We heard the analogy of the horse rider from the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, to let go sometimes and to straighten and pull the reins sometimes to bring in the balance. We must not forget the Ghana Tarala Bhakti that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talked about. Sometimes honey, sometimes water, always going through these extremes. We must remember we defined balance as something where in a weighing scale we don't want one end of the weighing scale to be, tipped off. We want both of them to be thoroughly in balance. We heard about the need for balance. Balance is needed because if we are not in balance, we can't have a peaceful mind. And without a peaceful mind, we cannot have effectiveness and cannot relish satisfaction in our life and in Krishna consciousness. We cannot forget what Brian Dyson said, that our life is like juggling 5 balls: work, health, family, friends, and our Krishna consciousness. We heard how to bring in some little balance in our relationships, either with family or with friends, with people basically, by not forgetting the 3 important points of not trying to prove our rightness, but trying to improve our relationship. If the result of the right is wrong, then the right is wrong. The second thing we spoke about relationships is we have to overlook differences, overlook idiosyncrasies, shut them off. And if someone's if I'm tolerating someone's bombastic talks, then that person is also tolerating my superficial hypocrisy, the example that I gave. And the third thing about relationships we discussed is we may be very desperate and passionate to really put our point across, thinking that everyone will accept us and accept what we feel, but not everyone feels the same for what we feel. And therefore, rather than always expecting that we are accepted, we should also learn to accept others. More than just analyzing, we learn acceptance. So these are the 3 things we spoke about. We spoke about health, and the 4 major areas we spoke about is our diet and our exercise and our rest, and most important of all, our relaxation. We spoke about our Krishna consciousness, trying to put it all in place. If we balance our life properly, we will have enough time and a peaceful mind to execute our devotional duties in the proper frame of mind. The 7 steps for balance, just pointers. First, we don't compare ourselves with others because everyone has a different situation in life, and balance to different people means different things. Secondly, we remember that balance is different at different times. It's like a tightrope walk. It's not the same. And today something's important for us, tomorrow something else will be important for us. Therefore the second thing we spoke was we need guidance. Thirdly, we spoke how we need to set priorities. If we just cross the line and miss the lemon, no point. And therefore we will have to use our choice to cut off, make a sacrifice. Yes, this event, if I don't go, doesn't matter. I need time for my family, I need time for my chanting, I need time for my health, XYZ things. So the third was setting priorities. The 4th point we discussed was about being flexible, not too rigid, forgiving ourselves if we cannot always comply to the things that we set to bring in a balance. There will be times when in real life we cannot do what we wanted to do. It's alright. We can't be perfectionists. We have to be realists. The 5th point we discussed was having support systems of people, devotees, friends, family members who will help us in different areas to bring in that balance. The 6th thing we spoke was relaxation. Relaxing, taking a break, lest we have a breakdown. And 7th, last but not the least, we spoke was we have to be realistic, moving on in life, by understanding that only Krishna can bring in perfect balance. As human beings, we can try and see if we can come close to what an ideal balance is. Do the best within our capacity and leave the rest to Krishna. Otherwise, to think that I can get a perfect balance is a utopian dream. Sorry about it, but it's a utopian dream. There's a lot of talk about bringing in balance and all of that in the world today, but I don't see one person doing it. I mean, they try to, but to get it is too hard because we are not God. God can do it. For us, we have to try our level best and work on these elements in a way that we can get the best possible out of what life presents to us. So this is just a brief recapitulation of our session on balance. And now we move on to our second session, which is Lessons from Ajamil Part 1. Recently I was reading something and very interesting, something I found out was the 21st century is a very interesting century. In the 21st century, our phones are cordless, our cars are keyless, our communication is wireless, our cooking is fireless, our food is fatless, our sweets are sugarless, our politics is shameless, our relationships are meaningless, our feelings are heartless, our attitudes are careless, our education, often if not always, is worthless, the youth today is jobless, the needs are endless, the salaries are getting less and less, and therefore the life in the 21st century is hopeless. And you know why? Because the 21st century is godless. And in such a century, where we don't really want to pay too much attention to God, here we are in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness trying to bring God as the primary player in our life. You can imagine what a challenge that is, living in a world where people don't care much to have God or godliness or virtue or righteousness. Here are we, living in an atmosphere with more cons than pros. Someone said, if cons is the opposite of pro, then what is the opposite of progress? Congress. Pros and cons. So someone said, okay, then progress and Congress. That was they said in India, of course. I don't see much of a change here, so that's fine. Here I would have to say something about the council, then it would make a difference. But nevertheless, here we are in the middle of a technological revolution, in the middle of a renaissance of sense gratification, a massive renaissance of sense gratification, where newer and newer ideas are invented about how to break the law of God. Here we are, a group of people trying to practice virtue. Here we are, a group of people trying to live by righteousness. Here we are, a group of people trying to live by the word of God. Not easy. And therefore, I thought that the ocean of joy in Krishna consciousness is shoreless and bottomless. And this is based on our scriptures, which are flawless. And out of all the scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam is spotless. The Amala Purana, And in the Srimad Bhagavatam we have Acharyas like His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Their commentaries, are immaculate because they are selfless. Selflessly giving themselves. And they have presented to us, based on the Srimad Bhagavatam, the conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is chanting of the holy name, which is priceless. We are all here in the International Society of Krishna Consciousness from a godless civilization to come to the priceless holy name of Krishna. Trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. The Srimad Bhagavatam ends with the holy name of Krishna. That the conclusion of the philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavatam is to chant. Chant the holy name of Krishna. Sankirtanam. Right? And therefore it's quite incredible that the Srimad Bhagavatam presents us this gift, the priceless holy name. Srila Prabhupada and our Acharyas are presenting us this gift, the priceless holy name. And we are trying to go through these episodes of the Srimad Bhagavatam to learn how to chant. To learn what are the different aspects of life that can help us get into the proper spirit of chanting Hare Krishna. Did you know something? That Srimati Radharani has so many amazing names. One of her names is incredible and most inspirational to me. One of the names of Srimati Radharani is Vidyarthini. Vidyarthi is the masculine for student. And Vidyarthini is the feminine for a student. Srimati Radharani, one of her names is Vidyarthini. A student. A perpetual student. Incredible, isn't it? For someone of that caliber. The pleasure potency of Krishna, the Ladini Shakti, she is a student, a Vidyarthini, where she's constantly learning from different devotees, constantly learning from the gopis, constantly learning in Vrindavan how to upgrade the quality of her service to Krishna. If Srimati Radharani is a perpetual student, I mean, in Hindi they say, to hum kis khet ki mooli hai? If Srimati Radharani is a perpetual student, who are we and where do we stand in terms of learning and improvising the quality of our service to Krishna and to the mission of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And therefore, we are discussing this afternoon. I have still not come out of Bombay. I give evening lectures in Bombay. So for me, it's just this evening will keep coming. So I'm just trying to, this is the first time I'm meeting now, the first lecture series here. So this morning, or rather this noon, we are discussing the episode of Ajamil being a Vidyarthi and a Vidyarthini, a student. We're not like those students, who will say, Padhna, likhna, chhod, padhai. Padhna, likhna, chhod, padhai, nakal pe rakh aas. उठा रजाई सो जा बच्चे रब करेगा पास. We are not amongst those students. Translated in English, it means forget your studying, forget your books, just pull your duvet, relax. There's a God above there who will take care of your examinations. We're not those kind of Vidyarthis or Vidyarthinis. Everyone in the Krishna consciousness movement is a perpetual Vidyarthi and a perpetual Vidyarthini. If she has the name Vidyarthini, who's constantly learning of how to improvise her services to Krishna, I think we can never be an exception. And therefore these characters of the Srimad Bhagavatam, these episodes of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when studied in the role of a student, in the role of a Vidyarthi or a Vidyarthini, we can learn a lot in our spiritual lives and in our lives in general. But therefore we are discussing from the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the episode of Ajamil. You know what? Devotional service is very progressive. It's a progressive path, where everything moves from a certain stage on forward. If you see Rupa Goswami explains how bhakti moves from Shraddha, fickle faith, then to Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees, then to Bhajana Kriya, practice of sadhana, then to Anartha Nivritti, freedom from the misgivings, then to firm faith. It's progressively moving on. Shraddha to Prem, it's a progressive journey. Of course, a lot of boys in India, probably here at the manor also, young lads, they come to our ISKCON temples a lot. Because in ISKCON temples they find puja, bhavna, shraddha, arti, sadhana, aradhana, bhakti, jyoti, shanti, tripti. They find everything, everyone there. So we have a crowd of young lads. Because ISKCON's promising this. Shraddha, prem, bhakti, aradhana. The only problem is the shraddha is Shraddha Joshi. And aradhana is Aradhana Pandey. But nevertheless, you can find a lot of people hanging out in the ISKCON temples, the young lads, because they know here we'll find a wide range. Life is definitely progressive. Devotional service is progressive, but even life is progressive. Progressively degressive. We are progressing towards digression. In Krishna consciousness, we are progressing towards progression. Progressing going up, and material life is progressing towards digression. Our bodies are progressing in age towards digression. Relationships sometimes progressing towards digression. You know what? Before marriage,
Before marriage, the lady expects a lot from the man. After marriage, the lady respects the man. And after a few years of the marriage, the lady suspects the man. So from expect to respect to suspect is a progression, but digressive. From expectation went up to respect and then came down again to suspicion, suspect. It's not just about devotional service. We see everywhere there is progression. The only difference is devotional service is progressively progressive, and material life and material relationships are progressively digressive, going down. Darshan of the Lord is meant to be progressive. You come down, you look at the lotus feet of the Lord. From the lotus feet one moves to the calves of the Lord. From the calves one moves to the knees of the Lord. From the knees one moves to the navel of the Lord. And progressively one takes darshan. One doesn't just come and say, hey, look at the face. That's not Vaishnavism. Anytime we come to a respectful person, we have our heads down and very slowly we look up. The only one exception to this progressive darshan is Kunti. Because she was an aunt to Krishna, she did not want to embarrass Krishna by looking at the feet, so she started looking at the navel first. And therefore the prayer is Namo Pankaja Nabhaya, Namo Pankaja Malina. Begins with the navel, the prayer, and ends with the lotus feet. But otherwise it's progressive. Sometimes people will travel all the way to Tirupati to take darshan. All the way. They'll stand in the queue for 5 hours. And when they come in front of the Lord, shutters down. They'll offer a prayer. And by the time they even get a chance to realize that I've offered a prayer, they're shut down. My God, I was always amazed. 5 hours they'll stand and take 30 seconds to take darshan. Tirupati's conveyor belt darshan. It keeps moving. Well, devotion service is a very progressive path where we move from the lotus feet to the lotus face. Where lotus feet represents service and lotus face represents devotional joy, prema. Once Shripad Yamunacharya in Sri Rangam was sitting at the lotus feet of Lord Ranganath, who is a deity of the Lord lying down on a big Anantashesh. Huge deity. How many been to Sri Rangam? We went with the volunteers once, right? Volunteers trip we went, the gathering once. Beautiful deity. And Yamunacharya was sitting at the lotus feet. So one person came and said, why are you sitting at the feet? Face is so beautiful, go at the face. Yamunacharya said, that is Duryodhan's place. Face is Duryodhan's place. He said there. The lotus feet is Arjun's place. I want to sit there, where Arjun sat. And therefore, in devotional service, we move up from the lotus feet to the lotus feet. Srimad Bhagavatam is also very progressive. Moving from the first canto to the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And each of these cantos are the different limbs of the Lord's body. The first 2 cantos are the lotus feet of Krishna. And it moves further to bring us to the lotus face of Krishna, which is the 10th canto. And chapter 30 to 35 of the 10th canto is a smile of Krishna. Before we come to the 10th canto, that darshan of the face, we have to first move from the lotus feet upwards. And today we have decided to progressively move, not starting from the lotus feet, but we are coming in the middle somewhere near the navel, which is the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is about protection. Each of the 10 cantos have 10 topics. Each canto represents one topic. And the 6th canto represents protection. Right. Krishna protects people in 2 ways. One is general protection called sthanam, and second is specific protection called poshanam. Sthanam is general protection for all living entities, cows and ants and non-devotees and atheists and everyone. And then Krishna offers special protection to his devotees. That is called poshanam. The 6th canto is about special protection offered to his devotees. It is a ray of hope in the middle of all the struggles of our devotional service. And I've told that story so many times, which our Sutapa Prabhu tells, of how one English gentleman came to the Bhaktivedanta Manor in the morning, and he said, "So what is your ISKCON's mission?" And Sutta Prabhu said, "Our mission is chant Hare Krishna and be happy." And so he was taking him for a ride, and he came into the temple room, and all the devotees were chanting Hare Krishna. And you know in the morning how they chant Hare Krishna. Someone's face was... Someone like a chataka bird. And someone was like practically pendulum-like whisper, Hare Krishna. And this English gentleman saw this. He said, "Chant Hare Krishna and be happy." If you go for the morning japa session, no face looks happy. No one looks happy during japa. Meant to. But one of our brahmacharis used to travel a lot to Pune from Mumbai. And once he wasn't traveling for a while, so one man said, "Aapka wo rone wala sadhu kidhar hai abhi? Where's your crying sadhu?" Because he used to chant in the train and he would be very intense. So people were thinking he's crying. Krishna consciousness can be a struggle. And in Krishna consciousness, chanting seems to be a great struggle. Is it not? And therefore, in the middle of all of these struggles, here is the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, offering us a ray of hope. To struggle happily. To struggle blissfully. Someone came and asked, "Prabhu, when will all the struggles end?" And the devotee said, "They will never end. After a while, you will start enjoying the struggle." How many of you have reached the stage where you are enjoying the struggle? Relishing the struggle, saying, "Wow, what a session it was fighting with the mind, man. Amazing." You know? Srila Prabhupada was asked once by a devotee, "Prabhupada, when will all the problems in this world end?" Prabhupada said, "When Mahavishnu inhales and everything goes inside, that's the time when there will be no problem and struggles." So please don't come with an expectation that we are going to hear some magic formula of dealing with struggles and suddenly tomorrow morning japa will be a most blissful experience. But the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the hope for all struggling sadhakas and practitioners, because it talks about how the Lord protects His devotees. General maintenance of everyone, even if one is not a devotee, doesn't matter. चीटी को कण भर देता है, हाथी को मण भर देता है, वो दयानिधि सबकी सुधि लेता है. To the ant, a particle is needed and God gives that. And to an elephant, a ton of food is needed and God gives that. The Lord is taking care of everyone in His beautiful lotus hands. The world and all living beings are indeed protected. Srila Prabhupada told a story. He said, in the Vedic times, Grihasthas, after having made their food ready, they would have to come out to their doorstep and announce, "Food is ready, food is ready, anyone for food, please come." Now here in England, people will think something's gone wrong with this guy. What he's doing, calling for food. Alien. And in Bombay, probably the whole of Mumbai will line up in front of your house saying, "It's feeding us, let's go take advantage of this feeding session." Prabhupada said, once there was a Grihastha and he was a devotee of Krishna, and he was saying, "Food is ready, anyone," and one gentleman came. So he fed him profusely Krishna's prasadam, and after feeding him, this devotee said to this man, this guy, "So now let's talk about Krishna." He said, "Who's Krishna?" He said, "Krishna's God." He said, "God? I'm an atheist. I don't believe in all this junk, God and all that stuff. Under the carpet. I'm leaving." And he left. And this Grihastha started crying, tears, saying, "I fed an atheist today." And then Krishna came. And Krishna was crying more than the Grihastha. So I said, "What happened?" He said, "You're crying of feeding one atheist. I've been feeding millions of atheists for eternity. You can imagine how much I should be crying, man. Can you believe that? I've been feeding all the atheists all over the universe. Who's feeding all the atheists?" Krishna. That is called sthanam, or general maintenance. Whether it's a devotee, a non-devotee, an ant, an elephant, a dinosaur, or whoever. Everyone receives their needs. But more than that is the specific protection that Krishna offers to his devotees. Did you know? Did you know that you were on Krishna's mind? How about being on Krishna's mind? How do you like the idea of Krishna thinking about you? Have you ever thought about it? Being in Krishna's mind, we can be in a devotee's prayer. But being on Krishna's mind, He's partial to all of you. To everyone else, general maintenance, sthanam. But to His devotees who take shelter of His lotus feet, poshanam, special protection, partial protection. He becomes biased, starts interfering in our life like nothing else. Sometimes we don't want that interference, that's another story. Thinking, bahut jada ho gaya, bahut naas dal, just poking his nose too much in our life now. Krishna, give me a break, please. It's just coming too much in my life. Hang on for a while. It's quite amazing to be on Krishna's mind. Once, Narad Muni was going to meet the Supreme Lord, Ramchandra in Ayodhya. And Hanuman was also there. So Hanuman said, hey, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Ayodhya. What for? To meet the Lord. Lord Ram said, really? Wonderful. Anything you want to ask the Lord? You've not met him for a while? Nothing. I've just heard that he has a diary. I just want to know, Hanuman said, if my name is on his diary. That's all. Narad Muni went. And Narad Muni said, my dear Lord, he didn't say, how are you? How am I? Don't go to the Lord and say, how are you, God? You don't go to a guru or a doctor and say, how are you, Gurudev? You go to a doctor and say, how are you, doctor? You go to a doctor and say, how am I? So said, how am I? Ram said, yeah, you're doing good. So I have only a quick question. Hanuman had a question to ask. He said, you have a diary. He wanted to know if your name is if his name is on your diary. So Lord Ram pulled out a big diary. Narad Muni took it. And what Narad Muni was looking for was not Hanuman's name. He was thinking, is my name here first? Let me see. So he went from the top of the list to the bottom and he didn't find his. And at the end he found Narad Muni. Last. But he said, wow, no problem. At least it's there, wherever it's there. And I said, hey, Hanuman's not here. So Narad Muni asked Lord Ram, can I ask you a question? Your devotee Hanuman not here? Lord Ram said, wait a minute. So he pulled out a small diary. Smaller one. Only few names in there. And Hanuman was on the top of the list. So now Narad Muni was confused. What is the difference between the big diary and the small diary? Lord Ram said, the big diary is about all those devotees who think about me. The small diary is about all those devotees whom I think about. And of course, Narad Muni is also in that diary, but this is a pastime. Just a pastime to make the difference. How many of you would like to be on that diary? The small diary? Where the Lord is thinking about us. Should I give you some good news? You are. You are. The Lord has a hard disk which is unlimited. All the universal souls are on His hard disk. And sometimes we have the hard disk which is partitioned into. So the Lord's hard disk is partitioned into sthanam and poshanam. Sthanam is the general maintenance of all the souls, and poshanam is the specific maintenance of the devotees here. Right? Every single devotee. And therefore, this canto is a very special canto. This canto is a canto of mistakes. We all keep making mistakes. in our devotional service, in our general life, in our relationships, we do keep making mistakes. To err is human. And this canto talks about to forgive is divine. The 6th canto is about the errors made by 3 personalities. Ajami, Indra and Chitraketu. These are the 3 personalities spoken of in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. All 3 were erroneous. Ajamil made a big mistake by getting involved with a prostitute. Indra made a big mistake by offending his guru, Brihaspati. And Chitraketu made a big blunder by laughing at Lord Shiva. Although it was unintentional, Parvati took it very much seriously. It were errors. The 6th canto is a canto of mistakes. And the 6th canto is a canto where the Lord is willing to forgive his devotee and reclaim him from where he has fallen to reinstate him in his devotional service to the Supreme Lord, to himself. And therefore, out of the 5 instructions to the pencil that I've so many times spoken of, one of my favorite ones is a pencil comes with an eraser behind it. Not all. When I was a kid, they always came with an eraser. I used to use yellow pencils with brown stripes called Staedtler. And Staedtler pencils, they were made in Germany then. I have no clue where they're made now. Pranabandhu Prabhu said, made in China. Well, nowadays everything is made in China. Someone said, where is love made? Love is made in China. Chala to sham tak? Nahi to I'm sorry. Love is made in China. No guarantee, no warranty. Chala to chand tak, nahi to sham tak. Relationships in this world. If it works, it goes till the moon. If it doesn't, till the evening it's all dissolved. Well, just on China, made in China. Sorry. Just digressed a little bit. Nevertheless, I used to love these Staedtler pencils. Yellow and brown stripes. Always came with erasers at the back. And the pencil maker gave an instruction to the pencil. When you make a mistake in your writing, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Because there's an eraser attached right behind to rub off, reform, transform, change, and make a fresh beginning. Make a fresh beginning from wherever we start. Lovely lesson. And therefore it's so nice that life is like that. Whatever is written is not permanent. It can be rubbed off. It can be changed. The mistakes can be reformed. And the 6th canto talks about how the mistakes are reformed for Ajamil, how he reformed his mistake, how Indra reformed his mistake, and how Chitraketu reformed his mistake. So if you ask me, I call the 6th canto a canto of mistakes on part of the souls, and I call it a canto of forgiveness on part of the Lord. Therefore, Poshanam means specific maintenance of his devotees, where partially he gets involved with his devotees. One gentleman was teaching his little child tables, mathematical tables, multiplication tables. And he asked him, so what is 8 nines are? The child said, 62. And the father gave him a laddu. So the other guy sitting there said, what are you doing? He gave me the wrong answer. You're asking him what's 8 nines are, and he's saying 62. And you're giving him a laddu, rewarding him. He said, yesterday he was saying 52. He's moved from 52 to 62. Tomorrow he'll move from 62 to 72. And then I'll stop him there and say, this is the right answer, son. That's a father. That's a father who will reward every tiny baby step towards the right conclusion. You don't reward the rightness, you reward the steps towards the rightness. That's a father. If a father is only going to reward the rightness, how is he a father? A father will see the tiny little baby steps in improvement towards the right answer and say, here's a laddu. And that's Krishna to all of us. whatever we do in life, Krishna is rewarding us, and Radharani is asking, what are you doing? Giving him your mercy, Laddu? That guy is doing wrong in his life. And Krishna says, just look at what he was doing yesterday, Srimati Radharani. Just see what he was doing yesterday and see where he has come today. He deserves that Laddu of my mercy. And I'm sure, if he just keeps going like this, all his mistakes and errors will be reformed, and he will come to the state where he'll say 9 8s are 72, to the right answer. And therefore this is indeed a fantastic canto. My humble appeal and request to everyone here is pick it up, read it. There is no substitute to reading the words of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. What I'm saying is simply from his words and from the words of many other senior great realized Vaishnavas. I have nothing to offer from my own side. I may sound a little too sermonizing, forgive me for it. I'm just sharing, it's not mine. I hope and pray that all of you will bless me, that I don't sound too instructive. And I hope and pray that whatever I say, I can live by half a letter of what I'm sharing. I don't. So it's just sharing so that I can put some pressure on myself to do what I'm supposed to be doing. So yes, this canto is not a canto to say, okay, let's take licenses, canto of mistakes. And Krishna will keep giving the laddu, so let's make mistakes. That will be the 7th offense to the holy name. That won't be right. The 6th canto begins with a question of concern and an answer of hope. The question is asked by Shukadeva Goswami. Sometimes between a teacher and a student, there's always testing going on, there's always questions and answers going on, sometimes meaningless questions and answers going on as well. Teacher asked a kid, if a ship is sinking, potatoes are 3 pounds a kilo, and frogs are croaking, what is my age? The student started scratching his head. Come again, please. What did you say? A ship is sinking. Potatoes are 3 pounds a kilo. And frogs are croaking. What's my age? The kid replied, Pat, 32. The teacher said, perfect. How did you get it right? Said, my sister is 16 and she's half mad. So here we go. So, what could be better? You're 32, fully mad, you're asking a question like this. Between a teacher and a student, there's meaningful questions. On the spiritual path, where caliber is not so important, character is. In material education, caliber is so important. Your ounces of grey matter up there in the head. And in spiritual education, character is so important. Here in spiritual education, the 6th canto begins with a question of concern. Parikshit Maharaj is sitting right at the lotus feet of Shukadeva Goswami and has just heard the conclusion, the grand finale of the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the 5th canto, Parikshit has heard about the 27 hellish planets. And all the kinds of yatanas, the sufferings imposed on the conditioned souls for the wrongdoings that they have done in this world. Parikshit is concerned. My God, all these hellish planets being fried and burnt and barbecued and roasted and grilled and drilled. All these souls will have to go through this. Shukadeva Goswami, please tell me, what is the solution to this? It's a question of concern, dying concern, not for himself, for others. He's dying. When someone's dying, the concern's for oneself. And here, at a dying stage, his concern's for everyone else. Everyone's going to rot in hell and suffer in hell. Is there a way out? Is there a solution, Shukadeva Goswami? My God, hell, heaven, people sometimes, is it real? We will discuss as we go on in the story. Is it real or is it fake? But we don't have to go to hell to believe in hell. Sometimes life is hell here. Prabhupada was like, what's your opinion about London? Prabhupada said, so, I think London is hell. And why did he say so? He said, the weather's gloomy, so cold. And then Prabhupada corrected himself and said, but it is a very nice and green hell. Nice greenery all around. And the same Srila Prabhupada said, because of the greenery, he said, I feel like I'm in Vrindavan. You know, one of our devotee boys in Bombay, guess what he did? I'll tell you the story. He came to meet me and he said, I just need to use the restroom. Can I use the restroom? I said, okay, please. So can you hold my phone? I said, okay. So I kept the phone with me. And suddenly the phone rang. And the caller ID was hell. The caller ID was hell. So after a while, he came back. I just turned the phone off. He came back. I said, Hari Bol, how is it? Good. We just had a nice heart-to-heart talk first. And then said, are you going through some trouble in your life or something? No, I'm okay. I said, you just received a phone call from hell. He said, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I said, but what is this hell all about? He said, that's home. He said, my parents just put so much pressure on me. So much pressure on me to study. I hate going home. So I've just put the caller ID hell. So whenever I got a phone call from home, I know it's a phone call from hell waiting for me. A guy came home from office early. 5 o'clock. He usually came at 7 o'clock. And the wife asked, hey, why did you come early today? He said, the boss said, go to hell. Of course, that's not true for devotees. Sorry about it. Parikshit is so concerned about the souls who will have to go through this hellish punishment mentioned in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Please, Shukadeva Goswami, tell me, what is the way they will be benefited? Such questions are amazing because these questions are questions of concern for others, not just questions of concern for our own selves. You know what? Many of us all the time are so self-absorbed. We are all so self-absorbed. To think of others is very difficult. Parikshit Maharaj is going through death and practically no self-absorption. He's thinking of others. If there's a fire in this hall, I hope and pray there's no fire. Whom will we think of the most? Who should be saved the most? Self-absorption is too strong. One girl in school from a rich family, in the Hindi question paper, there was a question. Garib Parivar pe Nibandh likhiye. Write an essay on a poor family. And this girl wrote an essay. एक गरीब परिवार था, माँ भी गरीब थी, बाप भी गरीब था, 4 नौकर थे, वो भी गरीब थे. गाड़ी केवल 2 गाड़ियां थी, पुरानी पद्मिनी, प्रीमियर पद्मिनी थी, फियाट, और बच्चों के पास आईफोन 4S नहीं था, नोकिया के पुराने मॉडल थे, और हफ्ते में केवल 1 बार गोविंदा में खाते थे, और इस प्रकार से गरीब परिवार बड़े मुश्किल से ऐश कर रहा था. There was a poor family, the father was poor, the mother was poor, the children were poor, the 4 servants were poor. There were only 2 cars, run-down cars, and the phones were not iPhone 4S, they were just some old models, and they would eat once in Govindas once a week. And in such a way, the whole family was enjoying their life with some struggle. Can't sympathize. So self-absorbed, so absorbed in oneself, one's own facility, cannot understand the life of others. Cannot see the suffering of others, cannot understand how people suffer. I've seen many times. It's called the ITS, the Ivory Tower Syndrome. When one lives in an ivory tower, in one's own life, one's own shell, one's own facility, cannot feel concern for others. Parikshit, feeling concern, asks this question to Shukadeva Goswami. You know what? we have to get out of self-absorption when we are living in a community. Because the more we think about ourselves, the less we'll think of other devotees and helping them and sharing their problems. The less we think about ourselves, the more we'll think about others' problems, help them, and you know what? We will suddenly feel an upsurge of gratitude in our heart. Krishna, my problems are at least not as bad as these. We are all the time carrying this in our mind. My problems, my health, my wife, my child. My child doesn't listen to me. He comes back home at 3 in the morning. Is this the time to return back home? And this is what he's doing and this is what's happening and there's, oh my God. So self-absorbed. These problems get on to our minds. You know what's the true solution to problems? We have to stop being so self-absorbed and start thinking of others' problems. Not only will we be able to help them, but we'll suddenly feel gratitude in our heart. Krishna, I'm not so bad as this at least. You know, Parikshit is asking Shukadeva Goswami, please tell me, what is the way by which all these conditioned souls in hell can be benefited? And this is the problem for a Vaishnava. The problem for a Vaishnava is his compassion. The problem for a practitioner Vaishnava is his passion. But the problem for an elevated soul like Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj is their compassion. Just cannot stand others' suffering. And a carry home message from this is, if we can simply think about ourselves a little less, we will probably be able to think about others a little more. And when we think about them a little more and do something little more to help them, Krishna will shower His grace on us. And surely, we won't take our problems as seriously as we used to before. Believe me. We wouldn't take our problems as seriously as we would take before. One of our devotees in Bombay, desperate to join the Brahmachari ashram for the last 15 years. Very qualified. Very qualified. You know what an actuary is? For those of you who know what an actuary is, it's like a money minting profession. Being an actuary, insurance and all of that stuff. My God, he's a qualified actuary. He gets a tip every hour and a salary every day practically. Huge amount of money. And this man wants to join the Brahmachari ashram. Can you imagine? His father left his body, elderly widowed mother, 4 sisters. 2 sisters got married twice and got divorced. Both staying with him. And 2 sisters have decided not to get married, seeing what the other 2 sisters have gone through. 5 ladies at home. 1 man only. Brahmachari. We told him, look, you take care of your family. And every weekend you can come and stay in the ashram just to feel that you're a part of this. We made a relaxed rule for him. But when I heard his problems first, I was thinking, my God, so much. I have to go to London and I have to prepare all the seminars and lectures. My health is bad and I'm feeling stressed and oh my God, my head's aching and I have a dental occlusion and I had a surgery in my knees and I had this and that. God, life is miserable. And I heard this gentleman. I said, thank you, Krishna. It's only the knees, not 5 ladies at home. Right. No, I'm not. People are laughing as in ladies are like that. No. Don't take me wrong, please. All the mothers, not to take me wrong. I'm saying 5 ladies means unprotected ladies at home need to be protected. That's what I meant. Oh, sorry, you got me wrong. Goodness. Oh. We have to take a lesson back. We may not have these feelings of compassion. Fine. We may not feel compassionate towards others and all that. But if we can go a little lower on self-absorption, I think we can think of others a little more. It will help us in a sense that we can help them and get Krishna's grace, but we can truly deal with our problems in an effective way by taking them off our minds. Problems are there and they are there. But if they are on the mind, that's when it really creates so much pressure and difficulty. Parikshit Maharaj, ideal devotee, sitting at the lotus feet of Shukadeva Goswami, thinking about others and nothing about himself at all. After hearing this, Shukdev Goswami starts replying. In his reply, of course, he decides to test his disciple first. Not just straight away give an answer. He's asked a question out of concern. I must give an answer of hope. But in giving that answer of hope, I must first test my student. Every teacher tests his students, isn't it? Material education tests caliber. Spiritual education tests character. When a test is offered by a guru or Krishna in our life, it's not about how many shlokas do you know. That's caliber. Our character is put to test. Our choices are put to test. In the material world, to test the caliber, my God, one gentleman was getting admitted in Oxford here, 1987, and he was going to do his master's in philosophy, but in order to enter into the university, he had to write a entrance exam. And in the entrance exam, there was a question on the paper: what is courage? And you would have to write an essay for like 8 pages with references and everything. He left all the pages blank. And at the end of the 8th page, he wrote, "This is courage." This is a real story from England. Oxford. He left 8 pages blank, and what is courage? At the end, he said, "This is courage." He got admission. Because people see you're thinking out of the block. You know, at IIM, Indian Institute of Management in India, one student was to get admitted, and the interviewer asks, "This is a top management institute." So, well, you have a choice. I can ask you a really tough question or 10 really easy ones. Your choice. He said, "Ask me one really tough one." Okay, fine. You ready? Sure. I said, "Yeah." He said, "What comes first? Day or night?" That was tough. And he thought, my admission depends on this. He said, anyway, Krishna, after all the prayers and everything, he said, "Day." And the interviewer said, "Explain how." And the guy said, "You said only one tough question, sir." You're not supposed to ask a second one, sorry. Thinking out of the block. He was admitted at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, which is the top institute for management in India and in the world for that matter. Top management institute. He got admission. Well, easy, simple, asking questions like these. When a teacher like Shukdev Goswami hears a question of concern, before giving an answer, he will test the loyalty of his disciple. He will test how deeply rooted he is in the first 5 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. 6th canto is coming. How much has he assimilated the first 5 cantos? Let me see. You know what? All of our lives we will be tested. Krishna will send us all a test. You know what the test would be? There's only one test in the life of a devotee. Whatever situation and circumstance may come in the life of a devotee, there's only one test in the life of a devotee. Whether or not we choose Krishna over something else. Everything is orchestrated by Krishna in a way in our lives to just test this one thing. Will he choose me or will he choose something else? That is the only purpose of every test that comes in the life of a devotee. And it's quite amazing. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj was mentioning this on his lecture on Lord Vaman Dev. He said, Krishna never tests a devotee more than that devotee can handle. Never ever tests his devotees beyond his or her capacity to take it. It's just that because of the calamity, suddenly we find ourselves on a tottering platform and suddenly we realize, God, this is too much, it's beyond me. Krishna doesn't ever send anything to his devotee which is beyond him or her. Therefore, when we have devotees around, in that association, devotees help us to take that test in the proper spirit that yes, I'll choose Krishna. If we don't have devotees, we'll choose something else. If we have devotees, we choose Krishna. And therefore a teacher will test a disciple, his character, his loyalty, to make him grow deeper and wiser. And Krishna will definitely test us. You know, when a little kid goes to kindergarten, the tiny little kid, the teacher comes and sees, and then the kids have put all the shoelaces all in place, and the shirt is tucked in, and the hair is parted well, and there's talcum powder on the face, and the belt's in place, the socks are both the same color, they're at the same place, they're the same brand. And then the teacher says, very good, wonderful, wonderful. And then the kid grows on to class 5, here you call year 5. And then he comes one day and the teacher says, did you do your homework in mathematics? So teacher, see my lace is all tied well. See my shirt is tucked in. See my hair is parted. See my belt is on. Teacher says, 14 saal ka ghoda ho gaya hai abhi tu. You become a 14-year-old guy and you're still stuck at shoelaces and tucking your shirt in. As a child grows, the expectations grow. So also as we grow in our Krishna consciousness, Krishna's expectations from us also grows, and therefore he does send some tests so as we grow in our spiritual life. A carry home message. First message, can't be too self-absorbed. As soon as we get off our self-absorption, we are grateful and we are helpful. Second message, a teacher will always test his disciple in spirituality, his character, his loyalty. And Krishna will test us. Only for one thing. Do we choose him? We'll always have two choices. Krishna or Maya. No wonder we have 2 ears. In one ear, a devotee whispers, come to Krishna. In the other ear, Maya whispers, don't come to Krishna, come to me. And we are here in the middle, trying to make a choice. Shukdev Goswami tested Parikshit Maharaj to see if his understanding was proper before giving the answer of hope. And he started proposing. Oh, you spoke about all these hellish punishments, all the hellish things that people are going to go through because of their sins. I would suggest the first thing that is to be given to him is atonement. Karma Kand. I was talking about Karma Kand and all this to a Western person, and I said Karma Kand and Jnana Kand and this. So he said, is it a kind of a candy? Karma candy, Jnana candy, Upasana candy. How does it taste? I said, it doesn't taste. It's a method to deal with your sins. It's a method to deal with all the wrong that one has done. Shukdev Goswami says, the first way, Parikshit, I think, to deal with all the sins of all the souls so they don't rot in hell, is we should give them karma kand. All the sins will be gone. Hardwar jao, go to Hardwar and take a dip in the Ganga and say this Nagbali Yagya, make this silver Nag and then give it in charity and do some fire sacrifice and then some home Phat Swaha, add something and everything will be gone. Parikshit said, sorry, wait a minute sir, that's okay, but this kind of thing is like the bathing of an elephant. The elephant will go into the waters and take a bath and clean itself and then come and roll in the dust. Because the tendency to roll in the dust is not gone. So my dear Shukdev Goswami, thank you for this proposal. But as all these people, they'll get cleansed of the sins by all this Nagabali and Mahachandi and Mahayandi and all these yagyas. And at the end of it all, they'll come and do the same thing again. They'll take a dip in the Ganga river and say, Paap Kshama kar dena Ganga Mai. Please forgive me. And then come to their hotel room and then bring out something from the bag and start that immediately after a dip in the Ganga. Karmakand will only clean the sins. It will not clean the propensity to sin, said Parikshit Maharaj. Shukdev Goswami said, okay, no problem, forget this. Forget all these rituals and fire sacrifices and dips in the waters and holy rivers. Jnanakand. Practice celibacy, practice meditation, rigors of austerities, penance, read all the literatures, make your intelligence astute, and your sins will be dealt with. Parikshit said, sorry. You know what? Sometimes in a forest, there is a forest fire. And in the forest fire, all the creepers at the roots of the massive trees are burnt. But the roots still remain. The first shower of the rains, again the creepers start growing. My dear Shukdev Goswami, all this detachment and austerity and celibacy and all that will destroy the external sense. But the roots are still there. One sense object like a jamil, the creeper will start growing. Two of our brahmacharis were going to Russia. And they were to travel on a business visa. Now when they're traveling on a business visa, you're supposed to go for the visa application and not in this outfit, obviously. And you can't travel in this outfit. So both of these brahmacharis went to Mumbai to the consulate to apply for the visa. And they had to dress up in this regular clothes. So they couldn't go from the temple like that. Because in the temple in India, no one dresses up like that. So close by to the consulate was a devotee's house, an apartment. And both the brahmacharis decided they'll go there. So the security, who was from Uttar Pradesh, a Brahmana from UP, very traditional Brahmana, but he was a security man. He's standing there with his little gun. And we went in front of him. These two brahmacharis going in, dressed up in saffron. And he says, Namaste Guruji, Maharajji, Namaste. And after 5 minutes, he saw the same two gentlemen, dressed up in suits and boots. His jaw dropped. What happened? And then they went for the visa application. And one of the brahmacharis was, standing there. The next day, the yoga teacher that used to teach brahmacharis yoga in Chapati, he said, Prabhuji, aajkal aap patloon pehante hain? You started dressing up like this? Sab theek hai na? Sadhu ka जीवन छोड़ दिया क्या? You left sadhu life, what happened? Why are you dressing up? नहीं, वो थोड़ा visa application के लिए गया. And one of the brahmacharis, he made a very nice point. He said, I was putting up a trouser after 20 years. This brahmachari in ashram looks like Amitabh Bachchan. He was wearing a trouser after 20 years. He said, I never wore a trouser last 20 years after joining this brahmachari ashram. He said, but as soon as I put the trouser on, the first thing that happened to me is my hand went inside the pocket and I stood with my shoe like this. He said, 20 years passed by, but the habit, 20-year-old habit, I used to be like the big B brother, putting my hand in the pocket. As soon as it comes, the hand goes in the pocket. Last on the list. But all of us have something there, the roots. As soon as the shower comes, the roots grow. And then, Shukdev Goswami told Parikshit, the third is Upasana Kand, the part of Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotional service, surrender to the holy name of Krishna. Why? This thing does not simply destroy the external sin, but it destroys the propensity to commit sin. It destroys the very roots. So Parikshit Maharaj has heard 3 analogies. First, the bathing of an elephant. Takes a bath and comes and rolls in the dust again. Karma Kand will clean your sins and you come and do the sins again. Second, the forest fire will burn the creepers, but the roots will still remain. Austerity's penance will destroy your sins, but the conditionings will still remain. And Upasana Kand, he said, is like the rising of the sun. When the sun rises, the fog will immediately disappear. As soon as the son of Krishna comes in the life of a devotee, the fog will all disappear. And he says, even if once someone says Krishna's name, he tells Parikshit, as a solution, how will they deal with hell? Even if once someone chants Krishna's name, in the mind, all his sins will be destroyed. And as an example to this, he begins the story of Ajamil. Right. How will all the sins be destroyed? By one chanting of the holy name, like the sun rising. Right. And he starts telling how in the city of Kanyakubja, there was a gentleman whose name was Ajamil, son of a Brahmana. When we talk about the story of Ajamil, we say, hey, Ajamil, the fallen guy. The Bhagavatam describes 16 qualities of Ajamil. He was not a gone case. He was not a gone useless case. He was a very virtuous Brahmana, son of a Brahmana. My God, 16 qualities. Ayam hi Shruta Sampannaha, learned in the Vedic literatures. Sheela, good character. Vritta, good conduct. Gunalaya, treasure house of amazing qualities. Dhritabrato, very determined in doing the right things. Mriduhu, very gentle, cultured. Danta, control over his mind, control over his senses. Satyavan, very truthful. Mantravid, new mantras. Shuchihi, clean in his life, clean character. Respectful to Guru, respectful to elders, respectful to parents. Free from false ego. Always kind to others. Well behaved. We chant 16 rounds but don't have one of the 16 qualities. Many times we can chant 16 rounds with none of these qualities. Ajamil at that point of time was not chanting and had all the 16 qualities. The Bhagavatam gives us a classic example of a very qualified man to show what can happen to such a person. If a person who doesn't have any qualities and he falls, what's the big deal? If a person was anyways vicious, a person was anyways a gone case, and he does wrong, we're not surprised. But a person who is very righteous and very, very fixed in his path, if he does wrong, my God, it's a great shock. Ajamil, very qualified. You know what Srila Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said, philosophy without good character is of less or no value. And sometimes amongst devotees we see, in the name of transcendence, devotees forget to be human beings. Sensitive human beings. It's quite funny. We have the best philosophy. We have the best path. And even amongst ourselves as devotees, we forget the sensitivities of a human being. Srila Prabhupada said philosophy is meant to produce good character. If we read the Gita and chant Hare Krishna, and if it's not brought about a transformation of character and good qualities, then he said philosophy is of less or no value. Ajamil, oh my God, such a powerful person. One day, walking in the forest, and as he was walking in the forest, he saw a low-class Shudra hugging a prostitute in a very, very sensual way, in a very wrong way, and the Bhagavatam describes about it all, the whole scene. Ajamil saw this, and as he was coming back, he started contemplating on it. The senses are all like lenses of a camera, and we are giving inputs to all these senses. All these inputs go in and form images in our mind. And all these images come up to our minds, and contemplation begins. From contemplation, attachment comes. From attachment, bewilderment of memory comes. Progressively a person goes down, Our ears are like lenses. And we give a lot of inputs to the ears. Someone may say, I'm not like Ajamil going there and watching all of this stuff. But how many times do we give our ears to listening to criticism? Criticism and gossip seems to be so juicy. So juicy, isn't it? As soon as someone says, Pata hai kya kiya usne? Haan, bol. We have all the time under the sun to listen to whose son ran away with whose daughter. But we have no time to sit and listen about Krishna many times. Each of our senses are like lenses. We are giving through these senses a lot of subject matter for contemplation. When we hear about the criticism of others, we are developing an image about that person in our mind. And we have allowed someone else's image of that person to affect our image of that person in our minds. We have formed an image based on X person's opinion. That person could be just his perception. I always tell the story, and I shall repeat it again. Socrates was sitting in Athens, Greece, and one gentleman came to him and said, "Hey Socrates, you know what? I want to tell you something about your friend." I said, "Really?" "Yes, you can tell me about my friend if you can pass the 3-filter test." The first filter. "Whatever you're going to tell me about my friend, is it right or is it wrong?" He said, "Well, I'm not sure." I said, "Then wait, you failed the test. If it's right, tell me. If it's not even, I'm sorry, the first filter was, is it true or is it not true? True or false?" He said, "I'm not sure whether it's true or false." I said, "Then don't tell me about it." Second, let's see if you pass the second filter. He said, "Whatever you're going to tell me about my friend, is it good about him or is it bad about him?" He said, "Well, I fear it is not so pleasant about him." I said, "Well, then you fail the second filter." The third filter. He said, "Well, whatever you're going to tell me about my friend, will it benefit me and him or is it of no benefit?" So, "Well, not really." I said, "Then don't talk. Don't talk anything about my friend." I'll tell you, it's a very important thing amongst devotees to start living based on these 3 filters. As soon as someone comes and starts talking, we start participating in that discussion with eyes wide open and curse Brahma. Why did you make eyelids which blink like the gopis cursed? Because they couldn't take darshan of Krishna. We can't see this man. My God. And our envy and our malice comes up. And we love to hear it. In our community, with devotees, if someone speaks about another devotee, the first thing is we should find out if it's true or not true. The second thing that we need to find out is it good about that person? If it's good, speak as much, no problem. If it's bad, I'm not the right person, go to the concerned person to talk. And 3, will it benefit me by hearing this? Or will it benefit the person? If I can help that person? If yes, tell it. Otherwise, sir, please, save me from this. I don't want to listen to this junk. Please spare me. Why should I tarnish someone's image in my mind based on someone's opinion? Ajami used his eyes to see that scene and I use my ears to listen to all these scenes. All the time my ears are open to listen to criticism and gossip. And what happens is, it leads to contemplation in the mind. And I start dealing with that person accordingly then. And therefore, we find here in the story of Ajamil, as he saw the scene of the prostitute and the Shudra hugging each other, that scene stuck in his mind like an image. For us it may not be eyes, it may be ears. And as it sticks in our mind, contemplation begins. And from contemplation, slowly the downfall continues. And therefore, we have to take a message back home from Ajamil's story. He used his eyes, we use our ears. He contemplated based on what he saw, we contemplate based on what we hear. And therefore I think it's very crucial to follow this 3-filter test, and we shall all continue the story of Ajamil post-lunch, which will be a big challenge. After the prasadam goes in, let's see how it goes. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.